Bavaria, 1701. Habsburg forces marched deep into Bavarian lands, hoping to bring this rebellious Germanic state back into the fold of the Holy Roman Empire. Initially, they have great success, marching swiftly through the fertile countryside and driving back the gathering Bavarian forces at a minor engagement in Bad Endorf. But danger looms to the west. For as the Habsburgs pursue the Bavarian armies after the battle, 130 miles west, a French army is rapidly closing the distance, eager to test their mettle against their Austrian foes. February the 7th, 1701. Both the Habsburgs and the Franco-Bavarian armies camp outside the town of Nuremberg. The heavy winter rains have turned the roads to rivers of mud and left the exhausted men of Austria, Saxony, Bavaria and France shivering around their campfires. At 10 o'clock the following morning, Austrian patrols encounter Bavarian scouts in the Waldenstein forest and exchange a few shots, the first of many of the day. Field Marshal Dino immediately ordered his generals to muster their troops and send their strongest force, the Austrian Third Army under General Mantus, to drive out any Bavarians from the Waldenstein forest. As news of the skirmish reached the Bavarian Field Marshal, given the moniker the Snake by his men, he too musters his armies, eager to confront the invaders with the support of the French troops who'd arrived the previous day. The Snake takes command of the left wing himself and marches for the Waldenstein forest, his right flank supported by General Roland's Bavarians and the French under Le Siberian held in reserve. Though there are cavalry engagements on the extreme right flank, the Snake presses forward. He's fixed on occupying the Waldenstein forest. To the Bavarian surprise though, before the majority of his army can even reach it, his scouts spot General Mantus's Austrians, who have conducted a forced march to take it and are now prepared to attack the Bavarians, who, unfortunately for them, are still spread out from their march. The Snake, however, quickly realises the danger to his left and establishes a defensive line between the villages of Betzenstein and Plech. He notices that if the Austrian Third is attacking unsupported, its flank must be in the air, and so he orders General Roland to send what reserves he can to strike the Austrians' flank. The French then also send their elite divisions to shore up the Snake's Bavarians as an added help. Bloody fighting ensues, particularly around Fischer's farm, as the Austrians repeatedly charge, only to be stalled by Bavarian countercharges. Slowly, however, the weight and aggression of the Austrian troops begins to drive back the Bavarian left flank. But what's this? The French elites arrive and are thrown into the fray. They are swiftly followed by the first of General Roland's reserve infantry. The steady stream of reinforcements begin to drive back the Austrians at bayonet point. With General Mantus falling back into the Waldenstein forest, General Michael hopes to relieve pressure on the retreating Austrians by striking at the French forces on the right flank. Though the Austrians drive back the thin French lines, they are soon checked by French lancers and cuirassiers. As the far left of the battle begins to stabilise, the Snake orders a general advance. He incorporates half of General Roland's Second Army into his assault of the overextended Austrians. One Hungarian regiment makes a valiant last stand to hold up the Franco-Bavarian assault on the far left, allowing the Austrian troops to reform a defensive line. However, the sheer thickness of the Waldenstein forest makes traditional line battles nearly impossible, and the fight on the Bavarian left devolves into a brutal and confused melee. The Austrians, vastly outnumbered, are slowly driven back from the forest, hoping to maintain their army cohesion until night falls and brings relief from the struggle. The Bavarians, however, catch the Austrians just outside of the town of Pegnitz, and General Mantus is forced to declare a general retreat. General Michael sends his last reserves to cover General Mantus's retreat, and these fresh troops are able to check and slow the momentum of the exhausted Bavarian army around Pegnitz. In the last few moments of daylight, the Snake and General Voland launch a series of bayonet charges against the final Austrian stand, and though the Austrian line bends, it does not break. The Austrians hold until nightfall, making further fighting impossible. Both exhausted armies settle down for a cold, wet night to count the staggering losses, unsure of what the next day would bring. When Austrian commanders received the day's report, they were stunned. Of the 14,000 men that had taken part in the first day of Nuremberg, over 4,000 were now dead, wounded or captured, and a further 3,000 were running desperately low on ammunition. They thus decided that further confrontation with the Franco-Bavarians will not yield positive results, and so they begin to prepare to withdraw. On the Bavarian side, in stark contrast, the Snake is dead set on renewing the assault on the Habsburg invaders at dawn. However, his men are in no condition to begin such an attack. With remarkable energy though, the Snake Hand directs troop and munition placements throughout the night and into the morning, and by 11 AM the Bavarians launch their attack at the Austrian rearguard. The Snake sends the French forces, now under command of General Pedro, as General Siberian had fallen ill in the previous night, to make a show of force and fix as many Austrian troops in place. Meanwhile, General Voland would march his entire Bavarian army to the extreme left flank and crush through the Austrian rearguard with the support of the Snake's troops. Initially, the plan met with great success, and though the Bavarian flanking force were hammered on their approach due to Austrian cannons spewing out round shot and canister, they closed the range and drove off the Austrian skirmishers. The Austrian rearguard, commanded by Colonel Vanitas, rushes reinforcements to its left and manages to stall the Bavarian assault until the majority of the depleted Austrian army has slipped away. Fighting begins to peter out as the Austrians slip away and retreat for friendly Habsburg territory. The Battle of Nuremberg is a Bavarian victory, though it comes at an enormous cost. Of the 13,300 Bavarians who started the battle, more than 3,900 were killed or wounded. Of the 4,800 Frenchmen who fought, 800 were killed or wounded. However, the losses for the Habsburg forces were much more severe. Of the 13,800 Austrian and Saxon troops, 5,300 were killed, wounded or captured. The Bavarian forces must now decide if they will bring the war to Habsburg's lands, or if they will rest on their laurels and defend Bavaria. The Battle of Nuremberg, the largest battle thus far in the War of Spanish Succession, is over. But the conflict has only just begun.